In today's competitive cleaning industry, the market, the difference between losing a bid and landing a long-term contract can come down to one moment, your presentation. Many cleaning companies spend days crafting a beautiful proposal, at least beautiful to them, only to walk into the room and fall flat. And that's why we're going to dig into what we want to call our program today Showtime presentations, the stagecraft, the rehearsal, the performance skills that help cleaning companies present persuasively and confidently when the spotlight is on them. And to do that, I'm pleased to welcome a regular guest, Chris Arlen with Revenue IQ. Your skill set, can we say it's a skill set, is creating proposals that persuade companies to buy. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's part of it. Absolutely. It's the first part.
Okay. So creating the proposal is one thing, but what about the presentation part of it? That's what we're going to focus on today, I believe. So we know that many companies think that written proposal is the gold, is what wins the contract. But why don't you talk about the presentation of that and why that's so critical?
I mean, the proposal's essential, right? You have to get everything's to the next step. So if the proposal fails, you're not getting to that next step. And typically the next step is they're going to interview the three shortlist vendors, suppliers. And that's where your presentation comes in. And you think about it, why do customers need a presentation? Why don't they just send an email and ask you, hey, answer these questions and we'll be done? But I think there's like three reasons why they do that, right? First one is credibility. They really want to find out, do you know what you're talking about? The second one is affinity, right? They want to know if your company can actually work within their culture, if it's a good fit. And then last one, never underestimate this one. It's likability, because these are the individuals who are going to have to work with your team, and they want to find out if they're going to like you, because there's always something that's going to blow up, especially in the service world, right? So likability, it's like in technology world, they used to call it the sniff test, right? To find out if something's real. And so presentations are very much like that.
Likability, that's interesting. That seems too simple.
Yeah, but you can't fake it, can you? You
No?
either like them or you don't, right?
Yeah. So on paper, someone may look good, but then when you meet him face to face, like, oh.
Yeah, no bozos, please.
The next point I want to talk about is something that you told me are dumb things not to do. I can think of a lot of those, Chris. But what are your favorite ones there, and what does that do to credibility? I mean, that's pretty obvious, but run us through that.
Yeah. Well, I figure if you know the dumb things not to do and you avoid them, you're ahead of the game, right? So that's why the not to do. Um, One of them, I think this is the biggest one in presentations. A presentation, like we've just said, you go in person or you're on a remote video screen or something. It's not a report. It's not a data dump with fine details, right? And so the biggest dumb thing to do is to try and make your slideshow deck into a written report. Not, I've worked with contractors, really big ones, who spent lots of money on these really fancy decks, and yet they're really just a report, overwhelmed with detail. So that's kind of the first one. Don't bury a presentation in detail. Some of the others, I won't go through all six, but one of my favorites is um, don't talk to strangers, meaning when you're in the presentation, the seller presenter better know who else is in that room, right? Or on screen or, remote. Because guess what? If somebody you don't know on the customer side gets up and walks out halfway through, and it's only after the presentation you ask your contact, hey, who was it? Oh, that was the CFO. And the seller didn't even get to the financials at that point. So that's a huge red flag. And then I'll just do the last one. Um, I always think that this is the number one. Never, ever read the text on the screen. Couple things happen. Number one, it's called cognitive overload theory. When the customer is reading it and you are saying the exact same thing, your brain cannot sort it out. Our brains do not really multitask. They swap really fast. So we can actually confuse our customers by reading off. The other thing, and I think this is just as important, um, it's rather insulting to customers. Like they can't read. I mean, come on. So those are kind of the three out of the six.
What you've just said there, I see it at so many presentations. I'm not going to mention names or where. Not going to do that, but I've been to a lot of presentations where the presenter, the expert, who knows his craft, supposedly reads the slide. Like,
You just hit you. I mean that you just hit the I think number four or two, whatever one I left out is the slides. Literally, the title is like the title to a news article. The speaker, the presenter, has to speak the story, right? So that's another one of the things that you want to do. And I just thought of the other one. Uh, well, never mind. We'll go down that rabbit hole later.
okay. So let's back up a little bit. Now, you talked about the presentation, dumb things not to do. Those are great. But a company now needs to think about how to get ready for that meeting. So talk about the prep work. What should a cleaning company do the days leading up to a meeting to prepare for that powerful performance where they're not going to read the slides?
Good point. They better know what they're talking about. So whoever they bring or have sit in on that presentation, everybody's there for a reason. Typically, it's a salesperson who's the facilitator. Then typically there are a bunch of subject matter experts, SMEs. And then lastly, if it's a big enough one, you want your owner, CEO, president, he or she is the top dog. And they don't talk except to tell the customer, hey, I'm the top, and we'll make sure we have all the resources and all the commitment to you. That's all they do. Because for the specifics, you want the SME to talk to it. So the first thing to do is to really recognize your proposal is the basis of your presentation, right? And in order to do that, you want to make sure you know who's in the room. So part of your preparation before the meeting is to find out who's in the room, who's going to be there, right? So I've got a form that I put out for years. Not only that, you want to identify what room you're going to be in. Is it on video? Is it in person? You want to, if you can, find out who's there before you or after. Am I going to follow the 800-pound gorilla contractor, or am I, going in? That's going to set the stage, so to speak, for how the evaluators see what I'm going to present. And then really write down what are the three takeaways that you want them to do. And then the last one is what will they do to confirm to you that you succeeded? The action, the call to action, basically. And presentations, it's really, they'll start negotiating with you on price. And then they'll say, okay, they'll usually take the top two once you get through that process, and they'll start negotiating because they don't want to leave, the customers don't want to leave the process and not have a deal, right? So they'll usually take the top two because if one of them falls out, then they've always got the other one. They don't look like they have egg on their face. Also, it gives them, the customer, the opportunity to price negotiate. Hey, we really think you can do that for about 10 million less a year, So
Yeah, that's real world stuff. You want them to sign on the dotted line. That's the action, but to get there is tough. You know what? You said something. Never heard this before. SMEs.
sure you have.
No, I've never
SME,
heard.
subject.
I know what it means. I know what it means, Chris. I'm saying
Yeah.
I've never heard anyone say SMEs before that I remember.
Really, what have you heard people, they
SMEs,
spell it out?
SMEs, subject matter experts.
Oh,
So,
God, that's me. Come
all
on.
right, I'm gonna have to look into that to see if others are saying that because maybe you have created a term, SMEs.
I'm a I'm a meme. I'm an meme. I'm a meme. Okay, so I made a SME and now I'm a meme.
Okay. Hey, when you talk about those meetings on video, obviously is easy, but in person has to be the best. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh, ideally for those three reasons I mentioned earlier, right? The likability, it's easier,
Right.
much easier to do. Like I'm looking at you on the screen now. I don't know if I like you.
I don't know either.
In person is much easier, right? It's
Oh,
much easier.
so
It's
much
just a
better.
human nature. Human nature. Yeah, absolutely. If you get the opportunity to do it, but generally customers are dictating how and when, and especially a lot of them are hybrid too, right? You may have to fly out to their corporate office, but they're still going to have their regional people from around the world, videoing in. So it's that kind of cross between, having both there in person.
Mhm. Yeah, I wanted to do this interview, Chris, at ISSA show in person, you and me, and I invited you. I even offered to send my private jet to pick you up and bring you to Vegas, but you said no, you'd rather do Zoom. So here we are.
I thought I squelched that before this started, but I guess not. I was going to get hit with that, right? Okay. Okay. I'll remember. I'll remember.
So Chris has nothing against ISSA show, he just can't go.
I love them. I
Okay.
love ISSA. I love it. Keep it in Vegas always. Always. I'm just, I'm glad it's not at the same week as the Formula One. So
Yeah, maybe they should move it up to Minnesota.
no, no, no. Keep it in Vegas. Keep
Okay.
it in Vegas.
All right, I'll tell him. I'll say Chris Island said keep it in Vegas.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So we're wrapping up. I think you wanted to walk us through those 7 Showtime presentation scenes. Is that still on the table?
Only if you want to.
Do it.
All right. So the first one we kind of talked about it. It was audition logistics. You want to figure out who's what and where. The next one is roles and rehearsals. So those kind of three roles, we want to make sure that there's a facilitator, leader, generally the salesperson, and that everybody knows their roles. Because part of the thing is you got to train a SME to only talk for like 90 seconds and to not read the screen, right? So ideally, the slide doesn't have a lot of text, so the SME or the speaker has to speak the story that the headline of the title says. Um, there's You want to set the stage too when you come into the room. If you're doing an in-person one, you always want to make sure the customers have the most easy, direct line of sight, so they don't have to turn their head. They're looking straight at your screen. Conversely, that means you, as the presenter, should have your back to the screen and should only be facing the customers. Couple reasons. Number one, you don't need to read the screen because it's your slide and you should know the story. But more importantly, you want to make eye contact with your customers and judge when they're tuning in and when they faded out. And so it's a much better. So you don't want to put them in a situation like a tennis match, right? They're going side to side. Um, so the other one is when the curtain rises. Generally, there's this typical process. People walk into the room or log in, and the first thing is, hey, how's the weather, traffic, blah, blah, blah. It's informal, right? Then it comes to formal, and they're going to say, okay, the customer's lead's going to say, okay, Jeff, time to start the meeting. And then you take over. So part of the thing is you want to set the expectation. How many minutes to this meeting? Just want to clear the time. You want to introduce who's in your room, who's from your team, and you want to train the customer to do the same. So it's called modeling, right? So, hi, this is Chris Arlen. I'm going to be the facilitator of our contractor, and this is Jeff. He's the expert on everything media, and so we go around, and then you ask the customer to do the same. Again, don't want to talk to strangers. You want to know why everybody in that room is there. So title, and if you and your team have said why you're in the room, Jeff is to talk about media, then the expectation is the customer will do the same. John Smith, CFO, I'm going to make sure your numbers work, right? One of the other things is a required agenda. Sometimes customers will present ahead of the meeting, we want you to do this, right? ABC. Now, you never really know who made that list and in what order, right? Procurement could have just taken a bunch of stuff. It's not like the customer's operations facility guys have said, I want to see this, I want to see this, and I want to see this first. And then it's generally not that. It's much more haphazard. And it's likely it's just a series of open-ended questions. And the problem is your customers are going to go to sleep, right? While they're waiting for their question, kind of like the viewers are going to sleep right now. And they're going to, they're, when we as a presenter, when we get in the room, we want to find out what's most important to those customers and in the order they want. So even though we've been presented with an agenda, we still want to kind of double check it. Say, hey, this is what you've asked us for. Is there anything you'd like to see first, or which of these items would you like to go to first? You want to get it while it's top of mind. If they got to sit through 45 minutes, they've gone to sleep and they've forgotten. Don't care. Um, Handouts. I've totally, let go of the scene, going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm just throwing stuff now. In a point in a presentation, there will be a question that requires detailed information, and you can't have that on the screen. It's just not an eye chart, right? At that point, stop the presentation and either PDF out, email PDFs or hand out a print. Therefore, everybody can take their attention off the screen, and now everybody's focused down on reading what it is. When they're done, then you can go back up to the screen. And then the last thing, wrapping it up, you know what it is, kind of like we're going to do in about 30 seconds. If you get everything you needed, Jeff, and so forth. If there's any open items, right, you can always shove stuff back. Hey, that's a great question, Jeff. Let's take it offline and we'll answer that. It'll give you another chance as a presenter to go back to your contact afterwards, because we always want to try and get it to that next step, right? And as a presenter, we're going to look for reasons, not just to say, hey, did we win? But to say, you guys mentioned in the meeting that you're really interested in this QBR program. And now I just want to show you a mock-up example. So that's kind of the everything that we want to do.
Hmm. You mentioned keeping them awake. That can be a challenge. I'm sure that all three who are watching this program are alert and ready to apply what they're hearing. Maybe
Well, my
four.
mom's already asleep. My mom's already asleep, so it's okay.
And
One of
something
the
else you
four.
said I thought is interesting. You said that a SME should only talk for like 90 seconds. I've yet to meet a SME who won't go on and on and on.
Yeah. Well, there's the rehearsal part, and there's the education part. If they recognize that they are not there to do the entire presentation, that they are given one topic. Now, this comes down to the structure of the deck as much as what they've been given to do. So they should have one slide. There's this really cool thing called cognitive dissonance. So the slide has a 5-word title and it's got a picture. And the customer's looking and going, what the heck's going on? Cognitive dissonance. They can't figure it out. So they got to listen to what you're saying. And that's what we want, right? They have to listen to what we're saying. And that's the only reason. Otherwise, email them the damn thing and, they can just read it themselves.
Have we beat this subject to death enough?
Yes. And I have a picture of a donkey too. I use a donkey in my number one. One of my things is don't face bats backwards in the presentation.
That seems again so simple, but you see it all the time.
Unfortunately, and not the best side.
Yeah. I remember going to one, this guy was doing a presentation and he was reading the slides and his back was to the audience. And it was it was his bio. He's reading his bio. I'm like, really? You don't know, you don't know about yourself? But it was like, oh my goodness.
Anyway,
Chris, good stuff as always. Let's see what people can do with this and make the better presentation.
that's right. Stagecraft presentation, Showtime. You bet.